So not only did I get to open today's webinar, but I also have the honor of being your webinar host for today. But I won't be alone. You'll hear from one of my teammates and a partner in Chicago. Joining us today will be Jacob Caplan, post-secondary coach and teacher at Eric Solorio Academy High School in Chicago, and 3 of his Champion OneGoal fellows, Desalise Fierro, Leo Lopez, and Diego Reyes. Today is all about exploring progressive pathways. There are an increasing number of students not pursuing a traditional 2- and 4-year college degree. These students are looking for career and technical education pathways that will lead to certifications in emerging sectors and industries, which is what we will be talking about. Now, before we dive in, I'd like to share a bit about my connection to the topic of progressive pathways. Working in urban education for over a decade within several school districts, I have not always felt equipped or that I had the resources necessary to meet the varying needs of our student population. However, I will tell you, within my current role as Director of Teacher Support for OneGoal, I've had the opportunity to support students in researching their professional aspirations and to connect them to high-quality enrollment pathways. Now, for some students, their personal fit trumps academic match as their #1 qualifier for enrollment. And I want to share with you that what I've learned is that students who are given the opportunity to research and select a pathway aligned to their strengths are at an increased likelihood to persist and graduate. OneGoal provides students with access to visualize and experience pathways firsthand, learn from alumni, participate in progressive pathway fairs, and voice learnings and concerns via one-on-one advising. It is so essential as educators that we are willing to pivot and respond to the diverse needs of the students that we serve, providing students with access to affordable, accessible pathways and careers that offer hands-on training, stackable credit, and opportunities to join the workforce places our students on a positive trajectory to reach their full potential. So I know what y'all are waiting for. You want to jump into today's conversation. Before we do that, I'd love to share some quick information with you about our organization for those that are joining for the first time. OneGoal's vision is that every student will have an equitable opportunity to achieve their greatest post-secondary aspiration. Right now, only 22% of students from low-income communities earn a post-secondary degree. Now, this is compared to 67% of their peers from high-income areas. Our mission is to lead the movement to transform post-secondary advising and support. We know that students from low and high income communities aspire to complete their post-secondary education at very similar rates. However, those from low income communities, the majority of which are students of color, face enormous systemic barriers to earn their degree. This year, OneGoal will reach 15,000 students across our classroom-based model in 6 regions and our post-secondary leadership network in Illinois and Kentucky. You can learn more about OneGoal by visiting the link in our chat. We offer a set of services aligned with the core belief that in order to meaningfully change post-secondary outcomes for students, we must pursue a 2-track strategy. First, we have to build the capacity of the adults in our system beyond just our teachers and counselors. Second, we have to deliver content and curriculum directly to students. Just like you would in a math or English course, we believe there should be sound post-secondary planning that is taught to students and that teachers and school staff should be coached to effectively deliver that knowledge. OneGoal has developed a quality enrollment framework that's designed to empower students to explore their post-secondary options through a very critical lens. Now, this helps students to choose the right pathway that fits their unique personalities and goals, and it's a strong lever to support them to graduate. Through the OneGoal curriculum and one-to-one advising the program director, students are supported to reflect on key questions that relate to personal fit, academic match, completion supports, and financial fit of institutions. And these are our 4 components of quality enrollment. For some students, personal fit trumps academic fit, and that's why we're looking into progressive pathways. So let's talk a little more about it. What is a progressive pathway? Some of you are used to hearing the term non-traditional. Some of you think of certification programs. Some of you think of non-degreed programs. A ProPath program is a non-degreed post-secondary pathway that positions students for competitive, in-demand careers and family-sustaining wages. As students explore their identities, they affirm their values, and they define what's important to them, they may find that a 2- or 4-year degree path doesn't fit who or what they want to be. So why ProPaths? Well, each student's path is unique, and we'll hear more about that from our students that we have with us today. But let's give you a few reasons. Now, this is by no means an exhaustive list, but just what we've heard in surveying some of our students. 2- and 4-year degree paths might not be feasible for some students due to financial barriers, location, time, or commitment. Students interested in skilled trades, for example, manufacturing, cosmetology, technology, or other sectors, may not find the training they need in a college environment. And many training and certificate programs can be completed in less than 1 year, so students can fast track their education and begin their careers. Through progressive pathways, students see that they have more options open for them that are a better fit for career pathways that they are connected to. At OneGoal, we look for non-degree programs that are free or low cost and that offer transferable stackable credits. The programs can take from 1 month or up to 2 years to complete and often provide a certificate of completion or other credential that students can take with them into their career. Some examples of non-degree pathways are city college programs, apprenticeship programs, union-specific career opportunities, and paid internships. Now, before we hear from our panelists at Solorio High School in Chicago, we'd like to do another quick poll. So please take a moment to access the poll and share with us which of the career paths mentioned below are considered a non-degree pathway. Okay, starting to see some responses come through. Great. Thank you all again for taking a moment to fill this out so that we can see all of the great responses coming into our conversation. I'm working on my teacher wait time here. We'll give it a few more seconds. Okay, we've got 2% of our audience thinks community-based organizations are progressive pathways. 9% think trade schools are. 78% think all of the above. If you answered A through D, which is all of the above, you are correct. All of those are considered progressive pathways. So this is exciting. We're going to go ahead and move into our panel. To start, we're going to hear from Jacob Caplan, who is the program director for Solorio and works on a daily basis with our students that we have on the panel today. Let me do a double check. Jacob, okay. Make sure I see you on camera before we get started. Thank you again for joining us. And we're going to jump right in. So, Jacob, to start, could you share more about the process students cycle through to decide which path to take after high school?
Yeah, hello, everybody. Thanks for that awesome welcome, Nicole. Good to see all the nice people in the chat and some familiar faces and names. But yeah, the progressive pathway advising process, it's the funny thing that I think about with it is that it's really not terribly different from the college advising process. And Nicole, you said it so well from the beginning that what we're really trying to do is think about that quality enrollment framework. You know, what do students personally want? What's a program that matches those personal needs? But along those same lines, like a high quality program that's going to be low cost, provide some supports to help them complete what they want to complete, is all going to be part of those processes. And it's definitely a thing that we can definitely, I'm sure we'll talk much more about this as we get through this webinar. You know, in my role here at Solorio, I'm very familiar with, at this point, having done this for years and years, with the college pathway and what that might look like, even though that changes year to year. And this idea of these progressive pathways is becoming a thing that we talk a whole lot more about, but it's definitely an area of growth, even for someone like me who's been doing this for so long, trying to find those high quality programs, especially as the economy changes and what students' needs and wants change, to make sure that we're validating students' desires for their future.
Thank you so much. And now you've touched on some of this. You said trying to find those high quality programs. So that could be a challenge. I want to talk a little bit more about the pros and the cons of choosing a progressive pathway that students should consider.
Well, I think the biggest thing that I imagine there is one thing I think about first is the barriers to enrollment, right? So there are many pathways that we find for students where it looks very good on paper, but then in order to get enrolled, there might be perhaps like a gap of months in order for them to start the program. For example, many students express interest in the skilled trades, and the skilled trades are an amazing way to get family sustaining wages, have a very viable plan for life after high school. But to have that begin, you might go to a skilled trades apprenticeship program that's beginning to recruit students. You have to be 18 years old or proving that you are going to be graduating from high school, and there's some other factors. But even if you do everything right, for example, a program that you'll hear about in a moment with Diego, you are going to start your process in September, but you're actually not going to begin the training until January. So that's one of those things of like, what does Diego or other students like him do between now when he graduates high school in a few months, in a month or so, between when the program actually officially begins in January. I think another thing that we definitely have to be discussing is cost. There are many pathways out there that are low cost, but there are also many out there, whether it be in cosmetology or other pathways that, I'm thinking about real estate and those sort of things, that you are not eligible for federal aid in many of these cases to use on some of these pathways. So even if you are eligible for money from the FAFSA or from the alternative application here in Illinois to use towards higher education, if they're accredited but not in the right ways, you can't access those funds that you might be able to access if you were to utilize those at a community college or other differently accredited programs. So those are two of the main ones I think about. I think about timeline and I think about cost.
Thank you so much, Mr. Caplan. And I want to add to that, we have had, so Jacob and I work very closely together in that Solorio is a part of my portfolio of schools, but we've had the conversations, right, about proprietary schools and pathways that are 4 or 5 times the cost of, for example, if a student went to the city colleges of Chicago, which is where we are, and did the same program. I also want to pull into our conversation the wait list, right? So for a lot of the union programs, our team just went to a trades fair and there were over 100 representatives there. And several of the programs had a wait list for a year out. And so those are the conversations that we have to have with students and that we must begin doing earlier to ensure that they're prepared and that we're setting them up for success when it is time for them to enroll in those programs. Mr. Caplan, are you ready? You ready to continue?
I'm ready.
You're always ready. I appreciate that. All right. So have you ever encountered a situation where a student selected a progressive pathway in combination with a 2 or 4 year pathway, or maybe they changed from pursuing a degree to pursuing a progressive pathway instead?
Definitely. This is my third cohort of students that I've worked with OneGoal. And I can think of a few specific examples. In one instance, there was a student who they thought they wanted to do the traditional, quote unquote, traditional college route. They got to their chosen pathway after high school, and they just realized they were not getting the fulfillment that they wanted out of their educational experience. They ended up finding a program called Year Up. I don't know if people in the webinar are familiar with that, because they were interested in the technical side of data and those sort of things. And Year Up was a perfect sort of transition for that student. So I think that a lot of times, and this is a thing where, like I mentioned earlier, it's a growth area for me. It was one of those instances where there was only a few pathways that I really knew about, Year Up being one of them. But this is, I think, my first cohort of students where I'm not relying so much on just like starting them on a college pathway, even if I know that they're really not thinking specifically about wanting to get that degree. And I'm starting to feel, I'm not quite there 100%, but I feel there's more out there that I can like show to students and discover with them to help them find a pathway before they decide to enroll. But that's why I think, not to belabor this point too much, whenever I'm advising a student that's possibly thinking about a progressive pathway, one thing that I personally try to do is say, cool, if we're still trying to figure that out in the meantime, like, why don't we find a very low cost option for, if you're thinking about starting your education with like a college pathway, start low cost. Because the last thing that I want to do is for a student to either go into debt or to spend a bunch of money if it's not something that they're as sure about as they want to be. So that's definitely a consideration that I take into my mind as I'm advising.
Thank you so much, Jacob. You heard it here first, one of our veteran program directors and such a valuable asset to our team. Thank you for shedding some light on the challenges and tools that you use to support our OneGoal fellows. So now I am thrilled to hear from some current students who are exploring progressive pathways as an option as they graduate from high school. Please join me in welcoming Desalise, Leo, and Diego, again from Eric Solorio High School in Chicago. How are you all doing? Let's pop on camera.
I think Leo's having he was not prompted to get the video.
Diego, I see Desalise.
You might need someone to give him that prompt to get back on video.
Okay, we're gonna get you that prompt in just a second, Leo. Let's check. Okay, and while we're waiting, how you doing, Diego? How you doing, Desalise?
Pretty good.
Love the smiles, love the smiles. And while we're waiting for Leo to get on camera, I am just going to voice over some of the amazing comments coming through the chat. Year Up is an amazing program. Thank you, Karina, and I would agree. We've got some Year Up alumni in the house. Thank you, Alejandra. Carla is sharing OneGoal has now established a formal partnership with Year Up. Yes, we have. And Becca is saying another great tool that's worth checking out if you're interested in finding a new ProPath program is Chicagoland Career Pathways. And that is a resource that we use very consistently in OneGoal as well. And she's linked the online directory for us. So thank you so much for that. We're gonna give it a couple more seconds here, and then if you can't get on camera, Leo, that's okay. But I think he should be able to.
He's getting a prompt, but there's just for some reason, it's not even when we hit the start video, but his audio is working. So I think we can move ahead, and Leo, he'll be here in his audio, at least at the very least.
Speaking of Leo, can I give you a shout out real quick, Leo? Alex Ritson said she had the chance to interview you recently and that you were so filled with wisdom and that you are the reason she's here today. So I just want to share that before we jump into the questions, and I love to hear it. All right, y'all ready? So let me give you a little bit of framing. You will all have the opportunity to answer each question If a question does not apply to you, feel free to pause and chime back in on the next question. So there's no pressure here. This is conversational. Any and everything you can share with us helps us as we continue to grow and support students in the future. So the first question I want to ask is, can you each tell us about the pathway that you selected or what different pathways you're thinking about? So let's get started with Desalise.
So it's still kind of undecided for me, but I do have some options. I'm thinking of getting into real estate. But if I do go to college, I'll go to community college and I'll try to get a degree. And yeah.
Okay, so no, we worked together before, so you know I'm a probe just a little bit, Desalise. So when you're saying you might do community college, would you be looking at the same program? Would you be open to other programs there? We know that the community colleges offer a variety of programs, from 2-year associate and certificate. And within certificate, they offer advanced programs that can take up to a year. They also have certificate programs that are considered basic certificates that you can complete in as little as 6 months. So when you're thinking of your trajectory and how long you want to spend in school and what you want to do, if you decide to do City College, have you thought about a program, and how long do you plan to invest for that program?
I'm thinking of the 2-year, but also another option that I have is Europe. And I think that'll be good for me too.
Why would Europe be good for you?
It seems like they offer a lot of support, and yeah, I like that.
Okay, thank you very much. Diego, could you tell us about the pathway that you selected, or different pathways that you're thinking about?
Yeah, for me, I'm following the pathway of electrician for the union. I'm planning on joining IBEW Local 134. Right now, I'm in a program for Chicago Builds in the year 2 electrical program. And yeah, right now, I'm just waiting till I graduate to start my training.
Oh, okay. I love that you are already in a program that's going to prepare you for your pathway. Could you tell us a little more about Chicago Builds and also about IBWE? So IBWE is the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers. Could you share a little more about that?
Well, Chicago Builds is a partner of IBEW, and they have different programs. They have carpentry, welding, and electrical. And it's a 2-year program. And after, for the electrical program, after you graduate, they give you the option of continuing to the trainee program, which starts in August, and it's for 6 months. And right there, you just work on the field, and while you're still getting paid. And after you take the test, and then you go on from there.
Thank you so much. So yes, what Diego is saying, it's a labor union program. They partner IBWE with over 700,000 workers. They offer an apprenticeship. So through the program, they train you to become skilled in a trade. They offer what we like to call earn while you learn, in that you get paid for your on-the-job training, and they offer mentorship, with an experienced professional and a credential upon program completion. So thank you so very much, Diego. And Leo, back on camera. Can you share with us a little bit about the pathway that you've selected or that you're thinking about?
Yeah, so right now, what's mostly catching my attention right now is barber school. So, you know, that's what I like to do. And I was gonna choose a different pathway, but right now I'm kind of leaning more towards barber school. Yeah.
Now you said, I'm gonna probe. Now you said you were considering another pathway.
Mhm.
Can you tell us what that pathway was? And then what was the determining factor? Because these are real conversations. That's what our role is as educators, to help you in researching your professional aspirations and determining based off these quality enrollment indicators. So again, academic match in some cases, personal fit, affordability, and completion supports. How do you determine of the
So,
two that you want to do barber school?
so well, so I wanted to go to the Marine Corps, but I feel like that wasn't me. I don't know. I just feel like that didn't fit me. And then I did think about going to college, but I didn't qualify for financial aid, and school's never really been my thing. Like, and books were never really my thing like that, and I was gonna pay a lot of money for something that I don't really want to do. And yeah, that's why I'm leaning more towards barber school.
Okay, so I hear affordability plays into your decision, and personal connection to your pathway. So personal fit, you're prioritizing personal fit as your number one indicator of being successful. So thank you for sharing that. Leo, we're going to move into our next question, and that is, what careers can you pursue with this training? And I want you all to think on a broad scope here, in that, using you for an example, Leo, obviously barbers can cut hair, but there are a lot of other ways that you can utilize your certification in that area to grow and look into other arenas. So we're going to come back to you, Leo, since you just gave us an answer. And this time we'll start with Diego. Can you share some of the careers that you'd want to pursue with this training?
Yeah, well, once you get certified after your 5 years, you could go work at whatever state or union with your certification. So I think my plan would be to switch over to ComEd probably, since they have different things that you could work in that company, not just specifically in houses or in buildings. And also you could start your own business at some point. Once you already know how to run everything and how to actually work in houses, it helps you out to manage and get people around to start a business. Not only that, since IBW still they offer to pay your cost for college after you get certified. I would like to go back and probably get an bachelor's in architecture.
That is excellent. What a solid plan and way to connect opportunities to earn additional credentials. We call it stackable credits, while being able to earn money in real time. Thank you so much for that, Diego. Desalise, can you answer the same question? What careers can you pursue with this training?
I need a moment to think.
No, that's okay. That's okay. Leo, would you like to answer that question? What, in of course, cutting hair, but are there other ways that you would like to expand from your education in barber school?
Yeah, I seen that Alex asked what school, and the school that I'm looking into right now is called How to Fade Barber School. And what I would like to do once I get like my certifications and stuff like that, I would like to at some point open up my own barber shop and like run my own business and stuff. Yeah.
Thank you so much. And thank you for bringing me back to the chat, because I don't see it without unminimizing my screen. But I want to voice over that we've got a link in the chat if you all want more information on Chicago Builds. We've got some information of someone saying their father was a part of IBEW and a member for decades. Lots of information in here on various programs and applications. So yes, the chat is live. Make sure that you all do check out those resources. as we continue on. I want to circle back, Desalise, and give you an opportunity to answer the same question. And if you prefer us pause and move on to the next question, that's okay too.
So I'm thinking of doing like more than real estate, but like more of like having like side, like, I don't know how to explain it. And yeah, I think that'll be good for me. Like, I know how to do art, so I could like create a business or something out of that. And yeah.
Excellent. Lot of entrepreneurship here today. I love to see that. Okay, so I want to give us an opportunity to backtrack. For some of you, you've answered this question already, but does your pathway provide any internships and an opportunity to be a part of a union or pre-apprenticeship program? So we know IBWE does, but for Leo and Desalise, have you thought about any union or pre-apprenticeship programs or internships?
No, I haven't really looked that deeply into it to like open up my own business or anything. So I'm not sure. Yeah.
The same for me.
Okay, and I just want to voice over, and we're talking to seniors on our panel today. And so for them, they are at a point where they're making decisions within the next couple of months and committing to a program. But the reason we're including this information is for juniors and even earlier. We do also support students in researching internship opportunities. And again, if they are interested in union or pre-apprenticeship, applying earlier to make sure that they are able to secure that spot, because those programs do fill up so very quickly. So I want to move on. This is the interview question that we all dread, but we have to know, where do you all see yourselves 5 years from now? And anyone can jump in here.
To be honest, 5 years from now, I just see myself cutting hair, to be honest. But also, like once I'm 21, like I want to be able to get my CDL. So I don't only want to get my barber license and stuff, but I also would like to get my CDL license.
It's a very solid plan. Thank you for sharing that. Would anyone else like to share?
For me, I would still see myself working at IBW, or possibly doing a change to moving to ComEd. But yeah, I probably would like to open up a little business in Mexico that can just come in a little amount of money every month.
Very nice. And Desalise, would you like to share?
I just see myself opening up a business. I'm still like deciding on things, but it'll come along.
It definitely will. And when you open that business, Mr. Caplan and I, for the hard work we put in, are gonna have a discount, right?
Of course.
You pause. You had to think about that. I'm just playing with you. Okay.
Hey, Nicole, could would you mind if I share some insights as I'm hearing students say some things?
Please do.
Because what I'm hearing from all three of these right now, it's a good reminder to me. It's like, when I think about whoever's in the space, if you're advising students and you're working with students, and I think about my journey personally, I see there's not enough programs like the Year Ups and the Chicago Builds out there, and Genesis Works I saw in the chat as well. Like when I think about what Desalise is explaining about her future, and me trying to support Desalise in particular, but also Diego and Leo, the struggle that I have as a person who's advising and working with students is I want to be connected to more high quality programs like those ones that we're hearing about in the chat. And our students that more and more so, I think since we hit the pandemic and the time period since, more and more of our students are seeing people who are able to have the side hustle like Des is talking about, have multiple jobs or have multiple careers like Leo's talking about, and it's taken a shift in me to think about this idea that you go to college, you get a degree, you do that same job for the next 25 years until you retire. Into this generation of students, I see a lot more of like, they want multiple credentials, they want multiple things, and not enough partners are set up to provide that quite yet. And that's like a challenge that I have for the system of student support, is how do we create more of those high quality, low barriers to enrollment and affordable programs that provide flexibility for our students in that regard.
Very true. Thank you. And that's exactly what we're partnering and working to do through OneGoal. So thank you. You nailed that completely. I am back in the chat, and I want to add to what Mr. Caplan is saying, that I do see we've got some information from Kim Nicholas. Thank you so much. And hello to you too on the Genesis Works program that Mr. Caplan shared. And just a reminder that juniors in high school, rising seniors can apply. They offer paid internships in IT, financing, accounting, and a bunch of companies like law, bank, finance, marketing, et cetera, et cetera. Applications are completed at the end of junior year, and there's some amazing networking and opportunities that come out of that. So I love that you all continue, please share all of these resources in the chat, and we are going to move right along. So I'm going to add last question, and then we're going to open it up to our audience to ask some questions. And any of you all can take a stab at this. What would you recommend to students who are considering a pathway similar to yours right after high school, instead of going into a 2 or 4 year program?
To be honest, me personally, one thing that I should have done and regret not doing, I know that Diego is in Chicago Bills, and me personally, I should have joined that. I don't know. That's something that I would have liked to do too, like becoming an electrician or something like that. So that's something, that's just me, you know. But yeah, I definitely recommend that program too.
So I hear you, and thank you, Leo, sharing that you feel like that was a missed opportunity. Do you feel like you were like late in the process of doing the research? Do you feel that there was more we could have supported you with in terms of assessing and probing what your interests were to provide you with options?
To be honest, I feel like since I was younger, I wasn't really too worried about it. So I didn't pay too much attention to it, which is my fault, you know? So yeah, but it's okay.
There are only wins here. You always have another day and another opportunity, as you are proof of right now. I want to voice over too in the chat. Alex is sharing, Jacob, that your reflection on systems and programs is brilliant. Programs aren't yet typically set up to support the multiple stackable interests that young people have, and that's certainly something that we are working towards. Thank you, Leo, for sharing. Desalise and Diego, I want to give you an opportunity to answer that same question if you would like. Just what would you recommend to students who are considering a pathway similar to yours?
I think something similar to what Leo said, of like looking for more opportunities, because that could really be beneficial, because it looked like it helped Diego a lot. And yeah.
Okay, thank you so much. And Diego, I thank you at last but not least.
Yeah. Also, Alex asked the question, when did I start Chicago Builds? I started my senior year. I was supposed to start junior year, but there was a problem with my schedule. And I was only able to do the afternoon, so I wasn't able to do it my junior year. And yeah. And the advice I would give, I think put yourself out there. Talk to if you want to pursue, talk to your counselor or someone that can put you in contact with people that are in the pathway that you are in, so that you could ask them questions and know more about the union. For me, I had my sister's friend is in the union, so it was helpful to talk to him and ask him questions, so I could learn like if I would actually like it or was something that was really interested in me.
Very, very, very important. Thank you so much, Diego. So we are going to move into, we've got about 15 minutes or so left, some questions from the chat. So you all keep the questions coming and we are going to dive right in. Thank you again, Diego, Desalise, and Leo for sharing all of this valuable information with us. Alexis in the chat wants to know, and anyone can answer, what advice would you give to younger grades in identifying a best fit post-secondary option, be it college, career, or something else, where they feel a sense of belonging leading up to their senior year? And I'll repeat that question. What advice would you give to younger grades in identifying a best fit post-secondary option, be it in college, career, or something else, where they feel a sense of belonging leading up to senior year?
I'll kick us off here, and then I'm going to challenge the students to kind of think about if what I'm saying goes with something that they might have thought about as a freshman and sophomore, or even before so in high school. But one thing that we have been pushing ourselves as a school is helping our younger grade students before junior year start to think about, you know, in a dream world, if you could get paid to do anything, what would it be? And so that mindset, if students have somewhat of an idea of what they would hope to do that would give them personal fulfillment in their life after high school, that's a struggle. And like Leo, Des, and Diego in different ways express that love, like that little bit of uncertainty. But if we can get young people to start there, that's where then we can bridge that gap of like, well, what is it going to take to make that a reality? If you say you want to be, your dream is to become a doctor one day, but you don't want to go to college, that's where it's like, well, you need to do that college thing if you want to be a doctor. But if your goal is to be working with people who are sick and need support, there possibly are other credentials, other things that you can do to make that possible. So I don't think anything that I'm sharing is completely, you know, a new concept, but I think we need to push our young people even earlier in their high school career of what do you want? What's it going to take to make that happen? But then that extra layer of like, if that what you want doesn't happen, what are the spin-offs of that? And what would it take to make that possible so that they have many options that still are personally fulfilling?
Thank you so much, Mr. Caplan. And I didn't mean to leave you out. Certainly, you all, if you have questions for our student panel, keep them coming. If you have questions for Mr. Caplan, or if you have questions for me, we are happy to answer them in the time that we have left. And let's see, we've got Tammy sharing from, see if I'm going to pronounce this right. Is it Rivette School? Is a non-traditional college program for students with high school flexibility and one-to-one academic and career coaching. And she's sharing a link in the chat. So feel free, you all, to utilize that information as well. So before we move on to the next question, did anyone else want to take a stab there? Okay. This question, I think this next question is for the fellows, and it is, do you plan to, oh, I am sorry, we've got Jim from the chat sharing this question. Do you plan to work while in your pathway? And if so, where?
Can you repeat that?
Do you plan to work while in your pathway? And keep in mind, this can include work study, it can apprenticeship, or other internship or paid opportunities, or even something you find on your own.
Oh yeah, me, I wanna be able to go to barber school part-time and then work at the same time, you know, so I can be able to pay for barber school and stuff. So yeah, I want to work while I go through my pathway.
Okay. Desalise, did you want to answer that question before we moved on?
Wait, can you repeat it again? I forgot it.
Sure. Do you plan to work while in your pathway? And if so, have you thought about where? Would you want to do like work study, apprenticeship, or even an opportunity that you just find on your own?
I don't know where yet. Yeah.
Okay. Everybody's about the coin. We don't know where, but we're going to take every opportunity we can to make that money. I hear you all. Speaking of working and understanding that takes a considerable amount of time, and you've got to invest a considerable amount of time in your pathway, how do you plan to balance having a social life, attending classes, keeping your grades up, and working? Can you share advice for creating a balance between fun and maintaining quality work in your program of study?
I think for me, my sleeping schedule is pretty bad. So I would have to start by fixing that, sleeping early, since I would have to wake up early to go to work. And also for having fun and stuff, that would have to be on the weekends, just so I could have enough rest for the next day of work or school. Yeah.
Okay, we're gonna hold you to that. Mr. Caplan and I are gonna pop up. And if it's a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, that means you are doing nothing but work, hands-on job training, and more work, right? We won't
Yeah,
see you
and after
at a
that, I'm
party.
gonna go home and study.
Okay, you heard, Mr. Caplan, you heard that, right? I'm joking. Okay, would anyone else like to answer how you plan to balance all of the different things that can come into play while pursuing your pathway? So how do you balance between fun, maintaining quality work in your program?
Me personally, I feel like once somebody graduates high school, they have to focus a lot more. So I don't know, the way I look at it is, I don't know, I already had fun, so like that fun stuff could come again later.
Okay, and not that you cannot ever have fun again, but time management, organization, right? So our curriculum builds that within our program years, where it's about managing and building and managing a plan so that students have a high level of organization and time management before going off to their pathway. So I appreciate you sharing that, Leo. I am going to pause. Anyone else want to answer the question before we move to the next question? Okay. This next question is for you, Mr. Caplan. How do you help students clarify a vision if they don't have a clear career goal for their future?
I really appreciate that question because I can't speak for anybody else, but I went to college with one career vision in mind, and I'm doing something completely different from what that career vision was. So I answer that question with the mindset of, how do I help students? Like, what the curriculum of OneGoal, the curriculum itself, it allows those conversations to happen. But I think it's sometimes unfair to think, okay, I'm advising students, they're going to finish senior year, and because they did OneGoal, everything's set. They know what they want to do for life, because I think I'm still trying to figure that out for myself, right? So my advice that I would have for other people who do this work is to find those high quality post-secondary partnerships. That's why, like, when I think about the skilled trades and I think about Diego doing what he's going to be doing with Chicago Builds, I have a whole lot less fear that if Diego changes his mind of what he wants to do, he's been set up for success with this idea of the skilled trades, but Chicago Builds is equipped, /IBEW is equipped to help him figure out a next step if that's what's needed. Desalise, as you can tell from a lot of what she's saying today, a lot of our conversation that her and I have been having is, it's okay to be completely unsure, but what's going to be a program that helps you navigate that uncertainty? And that really has to be the mindset that I impart and I encourage students to have is, where are you going to go? Is it going to be a college partnership? Is it going to be a different pathway that's going to help you navigate that? Because I think about my first cohort of OneGoal, and I had that cohort in my mindset in 2015 when they graduated, was I am the only person that can support these people, because that's all I want them to believe, that I'm their person. But with this third cohort, my mindset is like, how can we create a full circle of support around you? So that like when you inevitably do change your mind, or as life happens, as we kind of like to say in the business, like who's going to be there besides myself to help you navigate that uncertainty? Because whether we know exactly what we want to do and what we want to major in, or we're totally unsure, life is going to throw curveballs at us. So we have to surround ourselves with that support no matter what.
Very well put. Thank you so much. We're going to end with one final question. And I've just taken it straight from the chat. How much, any from one from the student panel can answer, how much has your family been involved or not involved in your decision-making process?
For me, I'm glad that my parents are, they don't care if I choose college or not. Like, it's not a bad thing if I don't go. Like, they're 100% supportive. So I think that helped out with helping me figure out what I want to do. And yeah.
Thank you. We'll take one more if anyone else would like to share.
My parents have been pretty supportive. Although my mom would prefer me going to college, she's still supportive, and it's all about me like owning my own business and stuff like that. So yeah, both my parents are been with me.
Okay. Diego, I can't leave you out. Did you want to quickly respond?
Yeah, my mom was like a little iffy about me joining the union. She just thought it was just like, oh, just going to work. And she didn't really see the future in it. But after explaining to her that I still needed to go to school for it and study and actually prepare and learn, she was okay with it. And now she's like more supportive about it.
Knowledge is key. Thank you so much, Jacob, Desalise, Leo, and Diego. It is time to wrap up. So again, we want to give a round of applause to our panelists. And we want to thank everyone in the audience for joining us today. We do